All right. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our brand night for tonight. Just happens to be Tuesday, April 15th, tax day. Hopefully, you got your taxes in order and you're paying the government with all that money you made in 2024. But we're going to talk about a couple things tonight, and one of them is going to be how to increase your income in 2025. And so you have to pay a little bit more taxes this year. I know it doesn't sound right, but the more taxes you pay, the more money you're making. So with that said, for those of you who do not know me, my name is David Scultetti. I'm checking in from Tampa, Florida tonight, and we just came off of a pretty amazing retreat in Sedona, Arizona, which we introduced a handful of new products, several of which we are going to highlight tonight. So again, if you're brand new, we do this brand night every single Monday night. That's Monday night. And tonight is going to be really, really amazing. So if you have any questions regarding these products, and I sense you may, please type it in the chat and we will address them for you. But to handle the interview, the discussion is none other than JoJo Monroe. JoJo, if you are new and you do not know her, she's a top leader on our team. She's a mama of two, and she's an incredible entrepreneur. As long as I've known her, almost 2 decades now, she is a lifestyle entrepreneur. She's a seven-figure income earner in the profession of network marketing, and she is here to take it away and share everything goodness about this new brand. So, JoJo, take it away.
Hey, Pied Piper, thank you so much. And normally we go into the what is marketplace and all of this good stuff, but tonight we are just diving right in because there is so much brilliance behind the man that I'm about to interview. Jaron, are you with me?
I am. I am with you.
Awesome. Awesome. So Jaron is the mushroom man, guys. He is absolutely brilliant. We had the honor, privilege and pleasure of hearing him speak this weekend on these three elixirs that we are about to launch here in MDC. But Jaron, you have an extensive background both in the cannabinoid area and in the psilocybin area. So for all of us here, just to get a glimpse of this brilliance and your background, please share with us just everything you have been involved in over the decades.
Sure. So just for clarification, most of this conversation will be geared around functional mushrooms, but the psilocybin topic we can talk about on another call.
Good, good.
So my journey began back in 2018 when I entered into the cannabinoid space. Really passionate as a whole about cannabis and the opportunities that it gave people in terms of quality of life or the ability to do more and not really be defined by their chronic condition or their comorbidity. I myself have a couple of chronic conditions as it relates to stomach problems,
Mm.
and living the traditional pharma path just wasn't something that was ideal for me, both in quality of life and but also limitations. So in 2018, I joined the K&D team, and we'd been able to do quite a lot of different unique projects that have allowed us to get to the point that we are today in having almost every certification that there is available as it relates to CGMP, USDA organic, ISO, kosher, etc., which has allowed us to do really great things in the space. Some of the more unique things that are usually mentioned less frequently are some of the clinical trials that we did internationally, specifically to try to define how minor cannabinoids like CBD, CBN, CBC, and CBG can be really effective at specific doses or specific titrations, which allowed us to get a little bit more information on what cannabinoids can do as a whole instead of limiting what their usage case was.
Mm.
Fast forward a little bit to 2023, we had done 2 or 3 different clinical trials specifically with low THC formulations, so things that were 0.2 or 0.3% THC. And really, we're starting to create a path of least resistance, if you will, that had data associated to usage case for cannabinoids. Fast forward to today, and now we've actually gotten a little bit more advanced where we're not just leaning on specifically cannabinoids and terpenes and all the unique constituents within, but also now functional mushrooms. And within functional mushrooms, there's thousands and thousands of years of research associated to them. We're leaning into Eastern Chinese medicine to an extent, where they had done a lot of the due diligence in terms of building the infrastructure for the micellular network. And what's really unique about mushrooms versus cannabinoids is mushrooms actually share about 30% of their DNA with humans. So it makes it really easy for us to absorb or transfer over a lot of the nutrients that come from the mushrooms into our bodies. So at a base level, we can think about things like alpha and beta glucans, which is present in almost every mushroom derivative. But then when you get to some of the more specialty varieties like a reishi or a lion's mane or a cordyceps, and you start to get some other unique properties that we'll see here in a minute, how we're able to pair them off with unique sets of cannabinoids that then have differentiating effects because we're able to build upon a multi-layer approach until we get a really unique full spectrum product.
Wow. That's so cool, man. And so when we say this, when you say the functional side, and I said psilocybin, so this is not the out of body type experience, out of mind type experience that's psychedelic that someone's going to have. This is actually medicine that has been studied for thousands and thousands of years, traditional ancient Chinese medicine. Is that accurate?
So instead of the psilocybin containing mushrooms, we're talking about things like lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi, chaga, turkey tail, etc. And while these don't have as much of a psychotropic or physical effect as you would find from something like a THC or psilocybin, they do have their unique properties on a therapeutic level. So utilizing them in conjunction with these cannabinoids actually increases their overall efficacy values and makes for a really unique, more therapeutic product, if you will. So this wouldn't necessarily be, just not to confuse anyone, this isn't going to be similar to taking magic mushrooms or psilocybin containing mushrooms. These mushrooms are going to have alpha, beta glucans, and other compounds similar to cannabis that when put together at different ratios creates a really unique reaction and experience or need state based off the different formulations.
I love it. And you guys created these three specific formulations for the three main areas that people are depleted in their day-to-day life. And so whether we say it's problem solution or just all around elevated health and wellness for a state of prevention, these three elixirs hit every area. So let's dive into them because we got to have them this weekend, you guys, and I'm telling you, they are effective dose 1, which is really outstanding. So let's go into the first one, the obsidian.
So Obsidian Stardust, when Josh came to us, he had really expressed a desire to have a unique formulation that was in some parts detoxifying, but also protecting and had some immune modulating properties. So in order to get into the Obsidian Stardust, we actually took a really unique approach where we used two common cannabinoids, both CBD and CBC. They're paired together in conjunction with three functional mushrooms, and that's going to be chaga, maitake, and turkey tail. Turkey tail is the most widely researched clinically in the world. It has the most due diligence done on it, specifically as it relates to supporting immunity, supporting antioxidant defense, as well as gut harmony. And when we think about immunity and kind of being in homeostasis, if we can make sure that the gut is in alignment, or not in dysbiosis, if you will, the rest of our body will be within sync as well. The Obsidian Stardust also has a really unique ingredient that's going to separate it from many products out there outside of the mushrooms alone. It also has something called C60, fullerene, which is a very, very powerful antioxidant that will neutralize free radicals and support long-term vitality. The flavor of this sublingual is completely original, as I think Jojo and the rest of the team can speak to. And we feel really really excited about this formulation. It's first of its kind, both in the cannabinoid matrix as well as the functional mushroom and supporting botanical ingredients.
Amazing. And we're going to get into that timing after we go into all three of these, because it really is unlike anything. It's actually, if you guys think about it, when HempWorx came out in 2017, it was the beginning of a huge run. And that's kind of the timing we're at right now with the mushrooms, y'all. So let's keep going to the next one and we'll tap back into that timing mechanism. But the amethyst rain is beautiful. It's awesome.
Rain is a really unique one. It was actually the first one that we started to develop. Now, this is going to be the formulation you want to use for stress relief, relaxation, calming down. Maybe before bed, you'd want to take a full dose. Maybe before a stressful event or perhaps a test, you'd want to take a quarter to half of a dose. There will be some focus elements associated to this. If you will, it's kind of bringing you back down into balance. Amethyst Rain has a formulation that combines CBD plus CBN. It's also going to use some unique botanicals, maybe less common, such as Blue Lotus. I'm not sure how familiar everyone on this call is with Blue Lotus, but it is known to bring you into balance. Historically, it also has some values as it relates to sexual health and inspiring sexual wellness. The unique aspect as it relates to mushrooms for this formulation is going to be something called reishi spore oil. So as I had mentioned at the beginning of this call, there is reishi. Reishi spore oil as an extract comes in a fat or lipid form. What's unique about it is it has triterpenes. So similar to cannabis, where you have terpenes that help to dictate the different functions that strain is going to have. The reishi has triterpenes, which contribute to the overall relaxation properties of this overall blend. The flavor and the aroma and the oleogoptic sensation of this profile is going to be more of a lavender lemon balm, which right out of the nose is also going to be relaxing for any user.
Amazing. And so if someone's actually, let's go into the next one, because this one actually is my favorite. And then I want to ask you specific states that people should use for specific ones. But the citrine for vitality does not miss. Like what you describe on this label is exactly what it does when you take it. And I've only taken about half the dosage that's recommended, and it still was equally as effective, which is so amazing.
Yeah, we're super excited to hear that. Obviously, the dosing is subjective. Some people will need less, some people will need more. As it relates to citrine vitality, it's a very unique formulation. It is going to have both CBD and CBG. CBG is known to help sharpen focus. As it relates to the mushroom profile here, we're using some of those mushrooms that many people on today's call might be more familiar with, like lion's mane and Cordyceps militaris. What's unique about lion's mane is it helps to stimulate neural growth factors, so increased brain plasticity, allowing you to be a little bit more creative, but also giving you some more flexibility in your day-to-day as it relates to being more attentive. In conjunction with cordyceps, which is going to stimulate some of the ATP production at a cellular level, but it's also going to expand lung capacity, which I know is a kind of unusual attribute, but continual consumption of Cordyceps militaris does indeed increase the oxygen efficiency in your lungs. Another unique aspect as it relates to the botanical side of the citrine vitality is going to be the turmeric, which is going to go ahead and support immunity, and the rihadola, which is going to be leaning really towards stress and performance under pressure. So the citrine vitality, the amethyst rain, and the obsidian stardust all have very unique profiles as it relates to their ingredients. They're all unique and different, but also their flavors and the essence that you experience when you take them are all very unique and original.
And what I appreciate about the flavors, just first use, you don't feel like you're tasting mushrooms, guys. It doesn't feel like earthy and granular and stick in your mouth, and now you got to go brush your teeth because it's still lingering. They really are just lovely, absolutely lovely. And so a couple of the questions, Mushroom Man, that came in, is this a full spectrum CBD, broad spectrum? What are people experience, or is it different in each one?
Great question. So each product is actually going to be different. All of them across the board are going to be broad spectrum, if you will. We can almost use the word select spectrum because there's only 2 cannabinoids per formulation, none of which have THC. So for the use for everyone on the call today, there's no THC in these formulations. The Amethyst Rain is going to be CBD CBN. The Obsidian Stardust is going to be CBD CBC, and the Citrine Vitality is going to be CBD CBG. Did I
Amazing.
say that?
I think that's right. Yep. And then, so if someone were to say, like, a question that came in, do you take these all at the same time? Do you take them throughout the day? I mean, I think you kind of gave us a breadth of it, but let's repeat and kind of give someone how you would start your morning, where you would end your day, and maybe something in the middle.
So
And
it
how much each person can take.
Sure. So it definitely is going to depend on what you're doing throughout your day. If you're a morning person or if you're just starting your day in the evening, I would tend to say that the Amethyst Rain would be something that, again, is going to bring you more into balance. It's going to be relaxing. It's going to help with some emotional clarity and inner peace. So that is something that you can start off the day with if you have, you're not operating heavy machinery. But the Amethyst Rain would also be something I personally would be taking after this call, so I can turn off my start to relax and decompress to reset for the next day. But again, that's going to be really subjective to what's going on in your day to day. If you have a really hectic type of morning, this would be something to lean into, in the morning versus at night. So I would say anyone that wants relaxation, emotional clarity, and a sense of inner peace, Amethyst Rain is your go-to. Blue Lotus, CBD, and CBN, especially at a milliliter for most people, is going to be fairly relaxing.
Cool. Cool. And then for me, the citrine, I see someone saying citrine in the morning first thing, and absolutely that's incredible. What I've been loving the last 2 days is actually using it in the afternoon, because I don't like drinking caffeine or having a stimulant around 2 or 3. But this has been such a groundswell of clean energy
Totally.
that really allows me to go another full day with before the kids go to bed, and then also still able to fall asleep when the kids do go to bed, which is lovely. It's that
You're,
clean energy.
you're totally right there. So the Citrine Vitality is going to be your replacement, if you will, to clean energy that's not going to have caffeine. It's not going to have sugar. We're not putting anything synthetic in here.
Yeah.
More of a neurosupportive profile of botanicals, functional mushrooms, and cannabinoids that are all working together in a unique harmony. So, again, that CBD and CBG already work pretty well on their own onus for supporting things like dopamine balance and cognitive stamina. But throwing in the lion's mane and the cordyceps, again, not something that we see traditionally in the market until we are leaning into these new line of elixirs, but are really in there to help give you energy at a cellular level, while the turmeric and the rihidola in the background help to support some of the immune modulating factors associated to sustaining that energy.
Cool. Cool. So you really can, throughout the day and different needs, different functionalities, take all 3 of these and still see tremendous benefits without doubling up, because they all have their unique formulations that are also seem synergistic with each other as well, which is kind of cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
A really important thing to note as it relates to these formulations, and something that makes this line stand out versus other competitors that are out there in the space, is we're working specifically with mushroom extracts. So there is dried fruiting body and mycelium, which could be considered mushrooms or mushroom powder. In the instance of this line of elixirs, we're specifically using extracts. And what makes that different is we don't have any chitin or the fibrous innards of the mushroom in our elixirs, which typically would prevent a lot of absorption and bioavailability as it relates to making a product. And secondarily to that, it just wouldn't offer the active constituent values that we can provide at this level, as we've done in the elixir line.
That's amazing. And just speaking of that, of timing and the mushroom world, it is well studied, well known, but not well spread insofar as elixirs that are out there on the market. And so looking at this from our business perspective, the timing that we have is truly remarkable because this is a first of its kind. And like we saw with the HempWorx brand when it launched, it was a huge explosive thing to the market. And so we have this incredible opportunity right now to be the first adapter to get this to market and get this to the world. And someone with your expertise, this isn't all we're going to have. You guys are working on more down the pipeline. Is that a true statement that we can share out loud?
A true statement. I can't speak definitively to what those things are, but that is a true statement. So, but again, as it relates to this line, I feel really proud to say that we have no alcohols, no sugars. It's 100% plant-based and functional. It was a big undertaking as it relates to making sure all of the ingredients are in the right states of being. But to be able to deliver in the way that we did is a big accomplishment. Not only from mixing the mushrooms and cannabinoids together, but really making these unique, different need states.
Amazing. And the last questions that are kind of coming in right now, one right after the other, have to do with the CBD. And is if you take all of these and you're taking our CBD currently, is that too much CBD for someone? Would they be better to balance and kind of create their rhythm, or what would you suggest insofar as dosages that are going? Not
This
that
is a
we're
little
going
bit
to treat, diagnose, or cure anything,
right,
or play doctor, but
So
yes,
so I'm not a doctor,
correct.
but this question is a little bit tricky to answer. With cannabinoids as a whole, especially from the research that we've done, this is a subjective question, right? So endocannabinoids or your endocannabinoid system, everyone's going to be a little bit different. So to say that everyone needs 5 or 10 milligrams might be an unrealistic expectation. But what we would recommend and condone is probably doing something more so on the 0.5 milliliter to 1 milliliter titration or dosing, and then scaling into feeling the effects, because you can always take more. Once you've taken it, you can't really take it out, right? So that's kind of our basis. If you're taking other cannabinoids, I would be mindful if you're taking your 750 broad spectrum or 750 full spectrum. If you're taking one of these formulations like the Amethyst Rain and then combine it with a full spectrum, it's very likely that you'll have a synergistic relationship in that formulation, and it might enhance or intensify some of the effects of the Amethyst Rain as it relates to some of those ingredients. Same thing for the citrine Vitality. As it relates to any physical imperative type of effects, I don't see that as common with the Obsidian Stardust, as that's going to be more of a detoxing formulation. Yeah, did they by chance in the chat say what type of dosing they're thinking about, or
I think most people are just comparing it to, my assumption is the 750 CBDs, either full or broad, that we have already within the HempWorx line.
Perfect. So
yeah.
if you were to take 1 milliliter of that full spectrum, that would be 25 milligrams of CBD and a very low amount of THC. And I think that would be fine for any of the formulations. The only caveat, again, is it might increase synergistically the effects of that formulation and make it more intense. So that's something to be aware.
The goal is start slow and add to grow.
That's a great.
Start low and then add as you want more, for sure. And then the question that came in, and I'm going to go ahead and preface this by saying none of our products in this line we are for children, but I am a mother of two, and I leverage to my own personal medicinal apothecary. So unless Jaron, you want to add something, it's kind of a mother, father, parental choice, but we do not recommend for children under the age of 18.
Yeah, I don't condone these formulations being taken by anyone under 18 or in some states under 21. You know, these are cannabinoids, and the functional mushrooms, well, might be a different situation. Cannabinoids and some of those botanicals should be taken, once our brains are developed a little further.
Awesome. Awesome. And a question that came in, I think it was up top a little bit more. These are, and just to clarify, these are sublingual, but is there benefit to using them topically if someone were to put them or use them that way, or is the point to ingest and have that sublingual experience?
I'm pretty sure we got this question at the beginning of the chat, actually. So, this product was created and formulated specifically for ingestion or oral consumption. I should say specifically oral consumption. As a sublingual underneath the tongue, if you want to do oral mucosal into the cheek, that's also okay. We wouldn't recommend or really condone utilizing them as a topical or as an oil in that way. Typically, topicals have to be made a little bit more gently because different skin types are really subjective. So we'd want to be a little bit more mindful about that. If you happen to do something to that effect and might want to spot test it just to make sure there's no allergic reaction before doing something to that extent. But again, these formulations were specifically created for oral ingestion.
Awesome. Awesome, man. And Mushroom Man, you are going to be with us for the long haul of all of this journey. So we appreciate you, and we can't wait to have you back again to dive even further into the science, even further into these products as we get our testimonies going, because they are live and the sale begins on Friday. So we appreciate you being here with us tonight.
Of course. Thank you. I appreciate the time, and love to educate and share what nature has to offer.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you. So with that, you guys, we're going to go ahead and pause here.
Certified. Do you want me to restart that?
No, keep going, friend. Yeah, you're good.
The full line is going to be USDA certified organic, as well as kosher certified. So all of the ingredients going into it have been carefully looked at with a fine-tooth comb, certified for transparency, potency, and clean, 100% clean label. The potency of each bottle is going to be 750 milligrams in either broad spectrum or full spectrum. So the uniqueness of that is if you're looking at the broad spectrum, you're going to have CBD at your most dominant value, followed by values of CBG, CBN, CBC, and maybe some other minor cannabinoids. The only difference in the full spectrum is you will find somewhere between 0.15 to 0.25 THC in those bottles. Some people find that when they're trying to take CBD, that in order to induce the entourage effect or to have some type of synergistic relationship between all the cannabinoids, that having that 0.2, 0.3% THC in there actually does the trick. And there's lots of research to depict that that's true. But believe it or not, depending on what you're looking to solve for, that's not always the case. So in some instances, just having a broad spectrum formulation and taking perhaps 1 or 2 milliliters of that over something that has perhaps some intoxicating effects or more sedative effects will actually satisfy your needs better without moving into a full spectrum product.
That is awesome. And then stick with me because I think the next 2 slides you can address as well, because
Sure.
this is the product that I actually, when I had this with me in Arizona, and when I had my foot cramp and my calf cramp, I actually put probably 6 drops of oil and I just massaged it into my calf and my leg. Within about 10 minutes, I was able to get back to sleep. So this CBDA is pretty remarkable sublingually, and then I ended up using it topically as well.
Yeah, so CBDA is a really interesting cannabinoid. It's going to be the acidic version of CBD. So for those of you that don't know, most of these cannabinoids, when they first get extracted from the plant, just like THC, it starts in its acidic form before then getting converted over or decarboxylated into what is then CBD, as we've seen in the Elixir line. CBDA, what's unique about that is usually the acidic cannabinoids have a little bit more or a higher threshold of therapeutic value. So as Jojo had mentioned, she's taken it both internally as an ingestion sublingual, but she's also used it topically. And what we see in the research is topically it has 10x the power of just CBD in terms of mitigating inflammation and really penetrating through the skin membrane to provide relief. So when you think about CBDA, I don't want people to necessarily associate it to direct pain relief, but more so thinking about it from a systemic application where you're reducing some of the inflammation and the elements that cause pain to mitigate it in the first place.
That's incredible. And I have a really cool story. I am new to the area that I live, and this is my first real season of allergies. And Dr. Erin texted me when I put up a story where I couldn't even see. She says, get your CBDA. And that night I took 6 drops of CBDA, which is way more than I ever do. But within 20 minutes, I felt the pressure in my head start to unravel. And the next morning I was absolutely fine. So that
Yeah, I'll make a comment for those of you that are, like to take, as it would appear from this call, multiple things or layer different products in. I would definitely say, layering in your CBDA with your full spectrum or your broad spectrum, or frankly, even your Elixir is something to explore. CBDA, there's traditionally not any THC in there, so that's going to be broad spectrum isolated cannabinoid, and it will enhance some of the efficacies of your broad spectrum or of your full spectrum, depending on what you're looking to do. So if you have, inflammation, or if you're trying to do something as it relates to pain, combining those two formulations, I would say is a really good bet.
Cool, cool. And Leah, to answer your question, yes, they are in droplet form now, which is really, really exciting.